To the millionaires, the worst thing that the Port Washington middle class did was build a high school. High school was strictly a middle-class invention. In 1909, the year that the Port Washington High School opened, children in New York State were legally allowed to drop out of school and start working at the age of 14. Even this law was violated regularly by families who sent their young children to work. Judges understood that violators lived in poverty and refused to fine their parents. When truant officers attempted to arrest children, bystanders would help the children escape custody. School administrators were willing to forge records to help children leave school without even receiving the compulsory elementary school diploma. Children who were convicted of truancy were often given suspended sentences, and they went straight back to work. But the rich kids didn't go to high school either. The young children of the social elite were taught by governesses and tutors. Families who lived on Fifth Avenue usually had a little classroom in some out-of-the-way wing of the house, where the boys spent the days learning Latin, while girls played piano and practiced basic math. During the summer, the tutors would follow the family to Europe, take the kids to museums, and help them practice their conversational French. Around the age of 12, boys would enroll in a prep school, St. Mark's, St. Paul's, or Groton if mom and dad expected him to become a Harvard man, Hotchkiss if Yale, or Lawrenceville for Princeton. Schooling was optional for girls, who usually stayed home with the governess while their brothers were off at prep school. But by the beginning of the 20th century, progressive parents considered sending their daughters to finishing school. The purpose of finishing school was to build character, not prepare for college. Although graduates of Miss Porter's in Farmington, Connecticut could snag a Yale man if they were truly motivated to. Elite finishing school Foxcroft, which opened in 1914, presented a silver cup to the first graduate from each class to become a mother of 4. For the elites who owned summer homes in Port Washington, enrolling their children in the public high school was to sentence them to social death. A public school student who really applied himself could get into Harvard or Yale, but once he was there, the prep school boys would never accept him. To win class office or any other kind of distinction, you'd have to be in a fraternity. To get into a fraternity, you would almost definitely have to be a familiar face from prep school. The frat boys maintained their bonds after graduation as business associates, so the kid from public school would be at a disadvantage even in his professional life. Author Louis Auchincloss, a graduate of Groton and Yale, whose cousins sat in the Farmington Board of Trustees and whose uncles had estates on Long Island, wrote about the kind of college boys who felt it their duty to guard the social citadel against all intruders. Because the Port Washington elite weren't going to use the high school, they didn't think they should have to pay for it either. But theirs was a minority voice. In 1908, the district purchased a piece of property for $30,000 and budgeted $75,000 to build the school on it. The school board approved the appropriation with a vote of 55 to 46. To quote the Brooklyn Times-Union, there was strong opposition, but the progressive element of the village, those who believe in adequate provision for education, superlative school facilities, won out by 9 votes.
There will be, when the high school is finished, few villages, if any, on Long Island that have better school accommodations than this. It appears to be the sentiment here that, whatever else is stinted, the schools must be well cared for.
When the school opened in September 1909, Port Washington celebrated with a parade. The Brooklyn Times-Union reported the event under the headline, "Port Washington's Pride is Dedicated."
This village yesterday was in gala attire. Stores and dwellings were profusely decorated in honor of the dedication of the new high school, representing an investment of more than $100,000. Hundreds of school children, the fire department, secret societies, and delegations of Italian residents paraded the streets in appropriate dress uniform, while 3 bands of music added melody and expression to the celebration. It excelled by far the celebration of the laying of the cornerstone of the same building a year ago, and equaled, in a measure, the railroad opening of 1898.
Building a high school was expensive, but to the people of Port Washington, it was worth it. Anyway, with all the new commuters moving to the neighborhood, the new developments being built, and the expensive mansions popping up, the school would be amply supported by a generous tax base. But opponents of the school had another card to play.